Well, at last it finally feels like the springtime is here. The sun is out and I've seen several carp cruising around just below the surface. So in this AD Quickbite, I'm going to talk you through one of my favourite methods for this time of year, and that's zig rig fishing. And in particular, it's the adjustable zig rigs I want to talk you through. I've been using the adjustable zig rigs for a few years now, and it makes life so much easier, especially on deeper lakes. It's easier to cast them out, it's easier to net the fish, and you can change the depth that you're fishing at without even reeling the rig in. You can fish the adjustable zig rigs anywhere from the length of your hook link off the bottom all the way through the water column to just under the surface, and on the right day they can be very effective if you fish them over depth and actually float your bait on the top. The adjustable zigs are nice and easy to set up, and they're made even easier because you can buy the zig rig kits now. Today we've got the quarter zig rig kit, and the first thing you want to do is thread the little buoyant ledger stem up your main line. And on the bottom of that ledger stem we've got a 2.5 ounce lead. That's the smallest I'd ever go on a lead, and I'm using one that size because we're fishing quite a small pit close in today. Once you've threaded that on your main line, you then thread your float on, and then you've got a small quick change swivel that once you've tied on will just pull into the end of the float. Hook link wise, I tend to make mine about 3 foot long, and that wants to be quite a low diameter discreet hook link. There's a few available on the market, and I'll use anything between £7 and £15 depending on the size of the carp I'm fishing for. On one end of your hook link, personally I like to use a Popup that's been trimmed down. The one I'm using today resembles either a pellet or a chum mixer. I simply knotless knot that, and I think it's very important to keep the hair very tight to the hook. And on the other end I've got an anti-tangle sleeve and a large figure of 8 loop, so it's nice and easy just to change the hook links. There's a few different options for your hook bait while zig fishing. Foam is one of the more popular ones. I know lots of people who love using black foam, but you can also catch fish on brightly coloured bits of foam such as red and yellow foam. For me, I've always done better with pop-up boilies. I tend to whittle them down with a pair of scissors, and I've caught quite a few carp on bright coloured ones such as yellow ones and pink ones. But like I mentioned earlier, today I'm doing a more match the hatch one. I'm feeding chum mixes over the top of the zigs, and I've got a small pop-up boilie which is a similar colour that I've whittled down to a similar shape. And I'm fishing that about 1 foot below the surface, and once I get those fish taking the chum mixers, it's only a matter of time before they dip down and pick up my hook bait. One tip that I'll give you for these adjustable zigs, and I'd say it is a must, is before you cast it out, lick and stick a PVA nugget to the side of the float and then hook your hook into it. And that'll prevent the rig from tangling when you're casting it. Once you've cast it out, put your rod down on the rod rests and just wait a little while until you see that foam appear on the surface. Now you can start paying line off the reel, and as you pull a foot of line off the reel, the float should rise up a foot. So keep paying line off until you finally see the float pop up on the surface. Once you see the float, you know that nothing's tangled, and you now know if you now wind 3 foot of line back on the reel, your hook bait will be sitting somewhere around the surface. So then you can decide whether you want it 1 foot below the surface, 2 foot below the surface, by winding line back on the reel. Once you're happy with the depth that you set it at, simply clip your bobbin on the line. Your bobbin will be sitting very tight to the rod because you're fishing a tight line on a zig rig. Sometimes you'll get a full-blown take, but quite a few of the bites you'll get will be drop backs. Well, I don't think I can resist it any longer. I can see several carp cruising along just below the surface, so I'm going to get 2 rods cast out, start feeding over the top of them, fish these just beneath the surface and see if I can catch a carp for the camera. Well, there we go. That didn't take long. I just got both rods out and started feeding over the top of the zigs, and the left-hand rod has ripped off straight away. So that's all the proof you need. On these warm spring days when the fish spend a lot of time up in the surface layers, you're probably best to get the zig rigs out.